Hey travelers, Mag and Ormus here, about to take on what is arguably one of the craziest hikes I have ever done. We're going to be setting off to take on the Kaʻala Trail today, which leads to the highest point on Oahu at 4,000 feet of elevation. We're looking at about 7 miles along the trail through a 3,500 foot elevation gain. The first part of the trail should be relatively decent. That middle part though is where the major climbing is going to take place, and we're going to be feeling every bit of it. Once we clear that, the top is supposed to be a rare ecosystem that you can only find right here, the only place in the world, because it's a bog on top of a mountain. I have no idea what to expect, beside this is going to be a brutal hike because Ormus has promised us exactly that. Can't wait to show you what's out there on the trail though, so let's check it out. Come on, let's go.
Kaʻala, the highest mountain on Oahu, is a part of the Wainea Range, an eroded shield volcano found on the western side of the island. It is an easily locatable feature from many places on the island because the top is clearly marked by a white dome-shaped tracking station maintained by the US Army. I've been looking up at that dome from one hike or another across the island, waiting for my opportunity to get up there myself. And when Ormus suggested it for our hike, I could not pass up.
All right, we are on this first part of the trail. And when I say it's easy, I mean it's easy compared to what's coming up ahead. Already I can tell you, it is an ascent. It is nothing but uphill, and we're not even half mile in. My calves are already feeling it. Fortunately, we've only got about 7 miles left to go, so we're practically almost there, right? Sure.
I had actually anticipated the first section of this hike to be relatively easy since it is located on a paved road, but boy was I wrong. It may be a clear path with no bushwhacking and very few tripping hazards, but the elevation gain on this stretch is absolutely brutal. I finally started to feel a small sense of relief when we came across this pumping station because I knew I'd get to take a short break while hunting for the geocache hidden nearby.
So Ormus now must think that I am just hard-headed, and maybe I am. He sends me over here, he tells me right where to look for this traditional geocache. I spend a good 5 minutes looking before it finally comes over and points at this fence post. And he's like, the coordinates are right there. It's a traditional. What do I need to find coordinates for? Well, apparently it's a traditional that's really a multi, because now I'm going to use these coordinates and continue on to the final stage of this traditional.
We're just going to attribute my floundering to find those coordinates as a part of me being tired from the climb.
Now, there aren't too many geocaches out here to be found on this trail. It may look like a lot based on this map that we're looking at here, but a lot of those geocaches that you see on this map are actually on other trails, which we will not be taking today. I think we're only going to have the energy for this one trail we're on. I'm thinking it's only going to be maybe 5 or 6 geocaches, which is plenty. The goal is to get to the top. However, there are some geocaches out here to be found. All right, let's get this thing out here and have a better look at it. Look at that. Now that is a big geocache here, fully loaded up with swag. And there is something to be said about taking these trails with Ormus because it is not for the faint-hearted. In fact, when you look at these logbooks, they're usually a year or 2 gaps between finds. This is another lonely find, as a lot of them have been. And in fact, the last people that came out here were with our adult supervision over here. So these are all fantastic geocaches come to find, and they are all hard work.
That first find also marked the end of our time on the paved trail. Now it's time for us to dip into the woods.
We've got a 3-for-1 special at this spot. Ormus has been explaining to me how these markers on the west side of the island have been placed by a hiker who does all of these trails to make sure you know where you're going. When you see these white bottle caps, they let you know that you're on the right track, going where you're trying to on the trail. When you see these orange ones right here, this means that you are on the way back off the trail. So even if you don't know exactly where you are, you're lost out here, just seeing the difference between the bottle caps lets you know where you're heading. And this particular tree is a bonus because it is a jackfruit tree that is fully loaded with this jacked up fruit that looks absolutely delicious.
There are several crisscrossing trails out here, but Ormus always seems to know the right one.
This is the first time where we've seen our color. The Kaʻala Trail is marked by the purple marker, and up until now we've been coming across these multi-trail markers because there are branches going off to either side, but it's official. Now hundreds of feet and a mile in on the trail, we finally see the trail that we're actually aiming for here. This is exhausting.
And yet I refuse to let Ormust get too far ahead, stretching my stride to catch him.
The strawberry guavas always give me mixed feelings, because on the one way, I love how it makes that tunnel walking through on the hike and you're really pressed in by them. But on the other, knowing that they're an invasive species makes it somewhat less enjoyable. Nevertheless, every time I come through those strawberry guavas, big sniff and enjoy the unique offering that they give me. And I guess that was the end of our flat part, because we're starting uphill yet again.
Each time I balk at the never-ending ascent, Ormust just laughs to himself and continues onward.
It didn't take long at all. We've only been out here less than a couple hours, and the clouds we saw covering the top of those are gone. We can see the tikis for the tiki trail right up there, but that's not where we're going today. Nope, up the top of Kaʻala.
Like any good trail out here in Hawaii, sometimes to gain elevation, you have to lose a bit first.
So the trail we're on now is one of the oldest in Hawaii. It was built before settlers. So the original Hawaiians used this trail.
And we're not stopping here for video purposes. We're stopping here because I stopped, because it starts to go steeply uphill and I have to work up the motivation. But Ormust is going to keep going and I've got to follow. It's good to have somebody like him out here, because if not, I might have already turned back.
And this man really is an unstoppable hiking machine, like no one else I've been out with.
Yeah, it's definitely getting pretty intense already, and we've got a long way to go. We're now having to use the tree roots as steps to climb up, and they're actually forming the branch of the trail for us, so we just climbed up that step. And then right here, same thing. I've got to use these tree roots as kind of my staircase to cover this part of the trail. There's a lot of hands-on activity happening here. Straight up and continuing on ever higher.
There is a reason that Ormust is in front of me in pretty much all of these shots. It's because I simply can't keep the lead when it's so easy for him to take a single step with those long legs and jump ahead.
These are the moments where my breath is taken away in the right way. You climb up, you're struggling for every breath, you get here, you see a view like this, and suddenly you get a little boost of motivation to keep on going just a little bit further up the trail. And it is hopefully only a little bit further. It's not.
At the edge of the ridgeline, when we come across the wire fence, built to keep the hogs out of the natural reserve area, I immediately have flashbacks to our climb up to 3 corners.
Off to this side, we've got a drop, because of course we do. Off to this side, we've got a drop, because of course we do. But off to this side, we have a geocache, because of course we do.
As we continue to trudge up alongside the metal fence, I try to get my orientation as to where we are compared to 3 corners. Once we reach a break in the trees, Ormust helpfully points out the feature.
And just to offer you a little bit of perspective, one of the last hikes we did here on Oahu went up to 3 corners, which is right over there. We are now at the same elevation as we were at 3 corners, which had totally killed me, by the way. And now we're still continuing up from there, ever higher.
The thing is, though, that the long climb up along the paved road and next to this metal fence are still just warm-ups to the real challenge ahead. It gets significantly steeper all at once.
Oh man, they do not make these trails easy, that's for sure. But I sure am glad somebody was nice enough to come out here and hang this rope. That makes this not only a lot easier, but a lot safer to climb too, because these are very slippery parts. And without something to grip onto like that, you really might be taking a dive instead of the climb that you're looking for.
Kaʻala holds its own chapter in Hawaiian mythology as the mountain that the goddess Hi'iaka, the sister of Pele, climbed on her way back to the island of Hawaii from Kauai. From the summit, she witnessed the destruction that Pele had caused and raged over her extended absence.
Okay, the next adventure is up ahead. We have a clear view of it before we drop back down in the madness. We have to get up to the top of that. This is where the trail is supposed to get really intense. Everything up until now, it's been pretty easy street, albeit one heck of a climb. Now we're gonna have to do some bouldering and some major ascents coming up here, and it should be quite the challenge.
As we start into what is arguably the hardest part of this ascent to the summit of Kaʻala, we get to witness firsthand why this is considered a sacred place of the gods. In the legends, these are mysterious lands, often shrouded in fog and mist, which blows in directly behind us as we continue to climb, surrounding us in the blink of an eye.
This fog is unreal, kind of like the movie The Mist. Not but 2 minutes ago, it was completely clear and we could see all the way down. And it just rolled in over the top of the mountain and is now climbing over this ridge above us, and we can't see very far in front of us, and it's getting thicker every moment.
It's not like we can exactly progress very fast anyway. We just step a little more carefully.
There's a real trail hero out here who came along and took all the hard work to bolt this ladder into the rocks, because otherwise this would be a very intense climb. Not that it's not already, but it certainly makes a very difficult job slightly easier to have these steps at such a critical juncture here. Whew. One step at a time.
Each time we come across a rope, we give it a solid test before we commit any weight to it.
One step at a time here. Thank goodness for these ropes. Oh, this would be so much more difficult without their help.
Ormust takes on each of these climbs like the seasoned hiking veteran that he is, watching each step carefully and avoiding any slips or falls.
Ormust knew just how tough this hike would be, so he had us come prepared. First of all, gloves. Like what we did with 3 points where I wasn't prepared, we need gloves to be able to grip that fence because it really cuts into your hands. The second thing, and we've already been seeing it on these boulder ascents, is climbing spikes. This is something I've never used before, and I'm so glad he had an extra pair to contribute. And looks like something I'll be picking up for some of these more intense Hawaii hikes. Just slip them on over your shoes, and now you've got spikes gripping on the bottom to give you that extra bit of traction that you need. Right now I would be slipping otherwise because this is a very muddy spot I was slipping on when I sat down. And there we go, we're a little bit better prepared for the conditions up and over.
Because despite the fact that it has been fairly dry on Oahu recently, the top of this mountain is perpetually wet. The fog rolls in on a near daily basis, raining out on top of the mountain and leaving behind lots of water.
Oh, you can feel the spikes right there. They really grip that slick rock nicely. Yeah, no doubt. Without these spikes on foot, I would probably be hating life right now. This would be miserable conditions. Just trying to ascend on without that extra bit of grip underfoot. This is definitely an intense way to gain elevation.
It seems like it would be quite the view below us if we didn't have our heads stuck firmly into the clouds.
Not a good time to see it because we are thick into the clouds right now, but we have just reached the 3,000 foot mark elevation gained, and I'm feeling every single foot of that. The good thing is, of our elevation gain, we've only got about 400 or so feet left to go. So I know soon enough here, we'll be leveling out a little bit, and the last part of this should be pretty flat once we reach the top, but gotta keep working till then.
And just when I was beginning to feel like the climb would never stop, it did in fact start to level out. A clear indicator we'd finally reached the fog on top of the mountain in the Kaʻala Natural Area Reserve.
We have made it up through the climbing portions. We still have a long way to go ahead of us, but the worst of the elevation gain is pretty much done. We've leveled out at around 3,900 foot. When we get to the highest point, that's only 4,000 feet. So now we've got, thank goodness, a flat area coming up. And it's almost like we walked into a dreamscape up here because we are now completely in the clouds and it's misty and foggy all around us at the edges of our vision. So you can't see too far ahead, as you can see from Ormust up here. He's kind of blurred in the clouds. He walks a few feet away. He'll disappear pretty quickly. He does that anyway with his long legs. But what's really unique about being up here is there's a lot of these, pretty much everything you see up here around us is now native Hawaiian species. There's not a lot of invasives up here for a lot of different reasons. So these are all a lot of very rare plants to Hawaii, and a lot of them are specific to this area that we're in right now, which is pretty darn cool.
The Natural Area Reserve, established in 1981, protects 1,100 acres of some of the rarest and most unique plants, animals, and ecosystems to be found anywhere in Hawaii. In total, there are 12 natural communities up here, 2 of them very rare. Within these natural communities can be found 11 native animal species and 208 native plant species, 69 of them considered very rare. Of these, around 60 can be spotted directly from the boardwalk if you know what you're looking for, including 23 unique ferns, 34 flowering plants, and 4 club mosses. Ormustr, very familiar with the native Hawaiian plants, stops each time to point out some of the rare ones that can only be seen from up here on the heights. Even though he doesn't know all of them by name, he is able to call out a few of them for me. Unfortunately, both the Hawaiian names and the scientific names are quite unpronounceable for me. Instead of completely butchering their names, I thought it would just be nice to show you a few of them. But really, no matter which side you look off the boardwalk, it is like walking through another world. A world reflecting what Hawaii might have looked like before the first human settlers arrived.
I knew we were gonna get a boardwalk when we came up to the top here, but I was expecting like one of those, horizontal boardwalks where you walk across them. Instead, what we have is basically two boards laid out side by side, and that's your walkway. And we started this one at 2.9 miles, so we're measuring the distance to see just how long we're actually out on this boardwalk.
Much to my surprise, we discover that the boardwalk only carries on for about a quarter of a mile through the preserve. It feels significantly longer though, because we are often stopping to check out the unique species here.
This spot really helps to show why this boardwalk is here in the first place. The entire top of this mountain that we're on is entirely a bog, which means the ground is soft and squishy. And in places like this, you can see people stepped off and they immediately went deep into this. We would not want to be walking on that right now. So this boardwalk is really a godsend because it distributes that weight and allows us to walk through the bog without having to slog through the thing.
As much as I was questioning my sanity on pretty much the entire climb up here, and trust me, I was, it all became immediately worthwhile with this unique ecosystem pressing in around us.
What I would have to say is the most unexpected part of the walk through this bog here on top of the mountain is how often I have to duck and crouch. And in a lot of places I just keep this position because the trees out here for the most part aren't that tall. Most of them don't reach up above 7 to 8 feet. The occasional one maybe hits 10. Most of them are pretty low, but they also have branches that come down right across the top of the boardwalk. So if you keep your head held up high, you're gonna hit them. Instead, through a lot of these, you just gotta keep duck low and keep pushing through one step at a time. But man, it is awesome out here.
Our approach to the end of the boardwalk feels like waking up from a dream, because all at once the fog disappears from out around us and we emerge on top of Kaʻala. There is no mistaking this as anything but the end of the trail because it is clearly marked. This is it.
We get at least one easy find today. A bison for us right there, clearly marked with the geocaching logo, no mistaking it, on flat terrain up here. The rest of them, probably not as easy as this.
Just across the road from the sign that marks the end of the hiking trail is a bench that provides an unbeatable view of Hawaii spread out below. We pull up a seat, basking in the sense of accomplishment.
Look at that. We made it to the top of Mount Kaʻala at 4,025 feet. And while that may not seem that high to some of you, trust me, if you get out on this trail and you hike all the way up here, you will be feeling every bit of that 4,000 feet. Just take a look at Ormustr over here. He's sweating, and I haven't seen this man sweat for anything. Unfortunately, this is probably our last hike we'll be doing with him before he takes off on the PCT, and it has been great being out here adventuring with him across the trails, and when he gets back to Hawaii, I look forward to more adventures with him. But until then, I guess I'm gonna have to figure out crazy trails like this between Florida Crafters and I and hope for the best. Hope you guys enjoyed this ascent to the top and all the amazing things we got to see along the way. Make sure to like this video, subscribe, stay tuned for updates, and we'll see you out on the trails.